Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Battle Through the Heavens based on novel. So let's start. Teacher, the body refinement will begin soon. Are you ready? Xiao Yan took out the 4-star Dozon skeleton of Feng Zunja and placed it gently on the stone platform. After which, his gaze turned towards Yao Lao by the side and spoke. Yes. Yao Lao nodded in a solemn manner. Despite his state of mind, a ripple had involuntarily appeared in his heart at this moment. Old Feng, the body refinement, and the merging process this time around might require a period of time. Do not allow anyone to enter the stone tower during this period of time. Xiao Yang turned his gaze, looked at Feng Zunja by the side again, and spoke in a deep voice. You can rest assured that the Falling Star Pavilion will enter into a cautious state once you begin. The experts that have gone out will also be summoned back. Feng Zunja's face was grave as he nodded. Should Yao Lao recover his peak strength, the Falling Star Pavilion would be able to strengthen rapidly. At that time, it would be able to possess some ability to resist the vengeance by the Hall of Soul. Hence, nothing must be allowed to go wrong. Xiao Yang nodded slightly. He gradually calmed his mind. A moment later, he inhaled a deep breath of air. He flicked his finger. The jade bottle that contained the bone-growing blood-fusing pill slowly drifted towards Yao Lao. Yao Lao was naturally extremely familiar with these steps. He did not hesitate even a little as he extended his hand and received the jade bottle. After which, a thought passed through his heart. A wisp of spirit flew out and lingered beside Xiao Yang. Feng Zunja and Little Fairy Doctor's group exchanged gazes when they saw that Xiao Yona and Yao Chen had begun. They quietly left the stone tower without even emitting the slightest unusual sound that could interrupt those two. Everyone withdrew without causing Xiao Yang's attention to be split. The latter's expression was solemn. He grabbed the wisps of soul beside him before slamming his palm on the skeleton lying on the stone platform, forcefully slamming the soul into the skeleton. Teacher, I will first refine the body. Once I succeed, you will be able to enter it and complete the merger step. Xiao Yang cried out in a low voice. He clenched his hand and a jade bottle appeared within his hand. Green-red blood slowly flowed within the jade bottle. A frightening energy fluctuation also spread from within it, causing this entire space to continue vibrating. This time around, Xiao Yang had prepared top-quality items in order to refine a body for Yao Lao. Hence, the difficulty of the refinement would far exceed that from when he had helped Qian Huazunja. Go. Xiao Yang beckoned with his finger. The green-red blood within the jade bottle shot out. Finally, it scattered on the greyish-white bones. Immediately, waves of white smoke erupted. A hissing sound continued to appear. The green-red color swiftly scattered when the green-red blood touched the greyish-white skeleton. Within the blink of an eye, the color of the skeleton had turned from grey to white, transforming into a beautiful green-red color. Moreover, the skeleton also emitted a rich energy ripple. Xiao Yang raised his hand upon seeing this. The green-red skeleton suspended in the air by itself. He waved his sleeve and the purple-brown flame surged out immediately, wrapping around the skeleton. The essence blood of the heaven demon phoenix was extremely overbearing. Moreover, it also had difficulty merging. Hence, he must use the heavenly flame to grill this energy deep into every bone of this skeleton. Only then would the skeleton be allowed to absorb all of these shocking energy. With this fierce grilling from the flame, a slight green-red light also appeared on the green-red bone. Even though this was the case, the high temperature that had seeped in still caused the surface of the skeleton to form a slight bubble. Occasionally, the bubble would burst and a rich energy would spread. This kind of tempering and grilling was a process that exhausted a great amount of time. Hence, it continued for nearly an entire day, before Xiao Yang finally slowly opened his tightly shut eyes. At this moment, the green redness on the skeleton had undoubtedly become much dimmer. It no longer possesses the bright color from before. Xiao Yan clearly understood that this was because that energy had gradually seeped deep into the skeleton under the high temperature. Xiao Yang let out a long breath. He glanced at Yao Lao beside him and the latter nodded with a slight smile. Xiao Yan's current flame control had undoubtedly advanced very greatly when compared to back then. It could likely even be comparable to his level. This caused Yao Lao to feel pleased. Although he also valued Xiao Yan's strength, he was after all an alchemist. The pill refinement ability of his disciple was something that he paid most attention to. Xiao Yan also smiled when he saw that pleased expression of Yao Lao. He had just kept the flame when he suddenly thought of something. After hesitating for a moment, he slowly walked towards the stone platform. After which, he violently broke the right arm of the skeleton in front of Yao Lao's uncertain eyes. Yao Lao was startled when he saw Xiao Yan's action. He did not understand the reason for it. Try this, Xiao Yan smiled. He took out the Doshing right arm, which he had obtained from the ancient remains, from his storage ring. After which, it was joined onto the right shoulder of the skeleton. Although the size was not very suitable, the two quickly merged completely together after the trimming from Xiao Yan's flame. Doshing arm. Yao Lao's eyes were outstanding. He saw the jade white bone arm and his expression changed. A shocked expression surged up his eyes. Yes. I have obtained it from the ancient remains. Xiao Yan smiled and nodded. He said, regardless of whether this thing is of any use, its hardness is completely up to standard. The hardness of the Doshing skeleton was something that Xiao Yan had personally witnessed. This thing definitely possessed its extraordinary point. However, he did not wish to leave it for his own use. Moreover, he was unable to use it even if he wanted to. It was impossible for him to cut his own arm for this thing before joining it to him. He was also uncertain if any sequelae would occur because of it. If it really did exist, he would end up losing more than he has gained. The current Yao Lao did not possess this kind of worry. He did not possess a body. This new body would gradually perfectly merge with him once he entered it. The arm would also truly belong to him in the future. Yao Lao nodded slightly. Placing a Doshing arm during this body refinement step was also something that he had never heard before. However, since it was something belonging to a Doshing, it should be quite useful. It might even become an opportunity for him to break through to a Doshing in the future. After directly connecting the arm onto the skeleton, Xiao Yan once again used the 3000 Lotus Heart Flame to refine it for a while. He finally nodded after the bone hand and the skeleton was perfectly connected. After a long period of refinement, that grayish-white skeleton had also undergone a drastic change in appearance. Its entire body was green and red. Although his right hand still possessed a jade-white color, the end of the arm also had some green-red color adhering onto it. The two had completely merged together under the grilling from the 3000 Lotus Heart Flame. Teacher. Xiao Yan's expression also became serious when he saw this scene. He cried out in a deep voice. Yes. Yao Lao nodded. With his old sharp eyes, he was naturally aware that now was the best opportunity. Immediately, he swiftly took out that bone-growing blood-fusing pill from the jade bottle and swallowed it. His body swiftly turned illusory, transforming into a ray of light that rushed into the skeleton. Bang! The skeleton trembled violently when Yao Lao's soul merged into the skeleton. Those empty eye sockets gradually possessed a glow. At the same time, a frightening mysterious energy spread out from the interior of the skeleton. Under this energy, some mysterious flesh had actually begun to appear on the skeleton. The flesh was grown on the white bones. This miracle was naturally brought by the bone-growing blood-fusing pill. Teacher, endure on. Xiao Yan's face had become grave as he saw the swiftly wiggling flesh being formed on the skeleton. He let out a low cry and the purple flame that wrapped around the skeleton immediately burned fiercely. Under the burning of this flame, the blood and flesh that had just been formed were actually being incinerated into ashes. However, when the ash scattered, a frightening mysterious energy once again spread out. The rate at which the flesh grew became increasingly quick. At the end, it was possible to see the rapid wiggling of the flesh granulation. A blood-blurry human outline was swiftly taking shape. This burning and growth continued for nearly 10 hours. The skin structure of the flesh was completely formed under the grilling of the flame. Following the birth of flesh, the skeleton on the stone platform had also completely turned into a human form. Subsequently, all that remained was to wait for Yao Lao to completely merge with this body. After which, that Yao Zunja, who had stunned the continent back then, would be truly able to revive from the bath of flames. At the same time, an enormous black large hole crept like a fierce beast from the ancient times within the deep mountains in the western region of the Central Plains. A frightening energy ripple that could chill one's heart spread vaguely. Black fog suddenly surged out from all directions within the large hall. A moment later, the black fog gathered. It transformed into many black figures that stood in the empty air. Powerful dark chilling aura swept over this entire place. Welcome Ninth Tianzuan. Many black figures appeared. Immediately, they knelt down in the sky. Their respectful voice immediately resounded over this entire place. During the time that these black shadows were kneeling, the entire space also slowly became distorted. A moment later, a blue figure slowly appeared. A faint voice also sounded along with it. Do all of you still remember the mission this time around? Destroy the Falling Star Pavilion, capture Xiao Yan and Yao Chen. Nearly 100 orderly loud cries simultaneously sounded. Yes, let's get moving. The blue figure nodded slightly. Immediately, his feet gently stepped on the ground. His body moved and slowly disappeared. When this blue figure disappeared, an elder, who was leading the black-clothed people, also raised his head. Surprisingly, it was old ghost Zhaixing. At this moment, his eyes turned towards the northern sky. A ferocious expression surfaced on his face. Xiao Yang, the old me will see just who will rescue you this time around. Within the stone tower, Xiao Yang watched the old figure, who was shutting his eyes tightly while being engulfed by the flame. His heart sighed in relief when he did not sense any unexpected occurrence. Currently, the body had already been successfully refined. The next step had nothing to do with Xiao Yang. As long as Yao Lao was able to successfully and perfectly merge with this body, he would truly be able to revive. Xiao Yang rubbed the cold sweat off his forehead. The continuous refinement of the body during these few days had been a great exhaustion to Xiao Yang. Fortunately, there were quite a number of medicinal pills within his storage ring that provided him with a great stamina. It was due to this that he had successfully endured through it. Teacher, the subsequent matters will depend on you. Xiao Yang softly muttered. After which, he sat on a stone platform by the side. His eyes were slowly shut as he entered his training mode and began to recover from the enormous exhaustion that was created during this period of time. After Xiao Yang entered his training mode, the stone tower once again descended into a silence. Only the low and deep sound of a burning flame resounded within the stone tower with a rhythm. Half a day swiftly flew past after Xiao Yang shut his eyes and trained. Only after the do qi that his body had exhausted was completely recovered did he slowly open his eyes. A faint glow flashed across his dark black eyes, and he immediately became quiet. After recovering from his condition, Xiao Yang's eyes glanced towards the stone platform. However, he only saw that Yao Lao still had his eyes shut. Not the slightest activity was emitted. Xiao Yang frowned slightly when he saw this. However, he did not panic. This occurrence was ordinary. The various things used on this body were not ordinary. It was not as easy as one imagined for Yao Lao to completely merge with them. Currently, my strength still remains at the 1-star Dozun level. However, the benefits that these couple of big battles brought me is quite great. After careful observation, I should have reached the peak of a 1-star Dozun. Xiao Yang withdrew his thoughts and fell into a silence. After having swallowed the 3,000 burning flame, Xiao Yang's strength might have soared, but the speed after this soaring had once again returned to normal. According to this step-by-step training, it was likely that Xiao Yang would at least require another half a year in order to reach a 2-star Dozun. However, his relationship with the Hall of Soul becoming increasingly worse, and had even ended up exchanging blows with them. Even though he was still fine until now, Xiao Yang understood that the true experts from the Hall of Soul had yet to appear. When these experts appeared, he would perhaps be out of luck. Therefore, he must raise his strength quickly in the face of the pressure from this enormous mountain known as the Hall of Soul. From Xiao Yang's perspective, the fastest method to raise his strength was undoubtedly to swallow heavenly flame. However, he had already obtained the 3000 burning flame, and he did not have any information about other heavenly flames. Xiao Yan did covert the sea heart flame of old Mu Jiyu. However, ever since he had advanced to a Do Zun, that old fellow appeared to have disappeared. Hence, he had also abandoned the thought of snatching the sea heart flame. Heavenly flame. Xiao Yang's finger gently rubbed against each other. A moment later, he was suddenly startled. He flicked his finger over his storage ring, and a couple of ancient maps appeared in his hand. These 3 ancient map fragments were naturally the mysterious map that Xiao Yan had obtained many years ago. It recorded the information of the heavenly flame ranked 3rd on the heavenly flame ranking, purifying demonic lotus flame. With the increase in Xiao Yang's strength, Xiao Yan was also aware of the strength and rarity of these heavenly flames ranked at the front of the heavenly flame ranking. This purifying demonic lotus flame was known for its mysteriousness. Even Yao Lao had never seen this kind of heavenly flame. Xiao Yang had also checked through a great amount of information during these years, and was similarly unable to obtain even the slightest news related to the purifying demonic lotus flame. If it was not because of the ancient map in his hand being the evidence, it was likely that even Xiao Yang would doubt that the so-called purifying demonic lotus flame existed in this world. 3 maps, it is still impossible to see anything. Xiao Yang carefully placed those 3 map fragments in front of him. He carefully studied them for a while, only to end up shaking his head helplessly. The Do Chi continent was incomparably large. He was unable to tell where the location of the terrain recorded on the map was. Those winding and bending route caused Xiao Yang to have a headache looking at it. Looks like I must find the last ancient map. Otherwise, no one will ever know just where this purifying demonic lotus flame is located. Xiao Yang had no choice but to give up after some futile deep thought. His face was dispirited. He was already blessed by the heavens in order to be able to obtain these 3 ancient maps. That final ancient map was something that he had no clue about. He had also failed to obtain even the slightest information related to this ancient map during these years of searching. He wondered if the last map actually existed in this world. Now, all I can do is to pray that I will continue to be lucky. Xiao Yang sighed softly. He carefully kept these 3 ancient maps. No matter what the case was, this thing was related to the purifying demonic lotus flame. Even though the chances of him obtaining it was extremely low, Xiao Yang would still not give up. After keeping the ancient maps, Xiao Yang hesitated for a moment before clenching his hand. A couple of jade white bone fragments appeared in his hand. These bone fragments were naturally the Do Xing bone fragments that he had obtained from the ancient remains. Do Xing, an expert at this level, already possessed a great might to destroy the world. Just by stomping his foot, a mountain would be annihilated. This kind of expert had already successfully understood creation. Every part of his body was something that an ordinary person dreamed to obtain. It was not an exaggeration to say that one could transform into a dragon and soar to the sky if one obtained a little of it. Take this Do Xing bone marrow as an example. If it was given to a baby or a child less than 5 years old, even if the child was a useless person before, his bones would be refined after consuming it and turn into a genius. It might be difficult to believe in such an effect, but it was indeed the truth. Xiao Yang's hand carefully rubbed these few jade white bone fragments. A moment later, he widened his mouth. Purple-brown flame was spat out and wrapped around these bone fragments. A frightening temperature spread immediately. These bone fragments were extremely hard. It was not easy to shatter them. If it was not because Xiao Yang possessed the strong heavenly flame like the 3000 lotus heart flame, it was likely that he could only simply watch the Do Xing bone fragment even if he knew that the Do Xing bone marrow was hidden within them. Of course, even with the aid of the heavenly flame, it was not an easy task to remove the Do Xing bone marrow from the bones. Fortunately, Xiao Yan was already mentally prepared. Therefore, his heart did not feel the least bit impatient when he saw that the rock-line bones did not move even a little under the fierce burning flames. Instead, he steadily raised the temperature and slowly burned the bones. 2 days passed in the blink of an eye under this slow calcining by Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan once again withdrew from his training mode 2 days later. He watched the bone within the flame that had gradually turned grey in color. An involuntary smile appeared. His hand was extended into the flame before pressing gently. After his finger pressed on the grey bone, one could hear a puff sound. The bone became soft before transforming into grey bone ashes that slowly scattered downwards. After these bone ashes scattered, 3 thumb-size cream-white gel-like things appeared in front of Xiao Yan's eyes. These 3 gel-like things were extremely small. Their surface possessed a colloid-like substance. When one's gaze looked through this layer, one could vaguely see the liquid slowly flowing within them. A wave of shocking mysterious energy quietly seeped out, causing a heat to gradually surge up Xiao Yan's eyes. Xiao Yan took out a jade bottle from his storage ring and carefully placed 2 Doshing bone marrow gel-like particles into it. After which, his finger pressed on the 3rd one. He hesitated for a moment before gently stuffing it into his mouth. The gel particles had basically dissolved in an instant. Before he could wait for Xiao Yan to recover, an ocean-like majestic pure energy poured down like floodwater. It followed his throat and poured down. After which, his wisdom swept apart and surged towards the 4 limbs and bones of Xiao Yan. The frightening energy that poured in abruptly caused Xiao Yan's body temperature to be raised swiftly. Curling white smoke rose on his head. Xiao Yan hurriedly sat down when he sensed the transformation of his body. He swiftly entered his training mode and began to refine these sudden majestic energy. This refinement continued for 3 days before Xiao Yan tightly shut eyes slowly opened. He sensed the unprecedented feeling of being filled with energy and involuntarily inhaled a gentle breath of air. Based on his senses, he had directly broke through from the 1-star level to the 2-star level. The miraculous effort that was present within a bone marrow gel piece was something that an ordinary Tier 7 and Tier 8 medicinal pill could not be compared with. There were not many medicinal pill that could raise the strength of an expert dozun by 1 star. He exhaled a long breath of air and raised his eyes to look at the stone platform. Yao Lao at that spot continued to keep his eyes shut. There was a sign of it waking up. It seemed that the body this time around was too strong. Even with teacher's strength, he was unable to easily control it. Xiao Yang fell into a deep thought. He helplessly shook his head and mused for a moment before deciding to exit the tower first and allowed Yao Lao to complete the merger here. When Xiao Yang had just made his mind, he suddenly sensed that the entire stone tower violently trembled at this moment. Soon after, a cold cry that was filled with murderous intent sounded over this sky in a mighty manner. Falling Star Pavilion. Hand over Xiao Yang and Yao Chen. Otherwise, today, I will wash this place in blood. Bang. Xiao Yang's cry spread in a vast and mighty manner. Xiao Yang's expression changed intensely. His body suddenly stood up, and his eyes looked towards the stone platform in a dense manner. Hall of Soul, has it finally arrived? All the disciples on the Falling Star Mountain stood up at this moment. Their gazes were surprised as they looked at the distant sky. Due to the defensive formation that was naturally formed by the meteorite, they were unable to see the situation outside. However, they were vaguely able to sense that the Falling Star Pavilion seemed to be faced with a great calamity. Feng Zunja and the others were gathered on a square on the mountain top. Their expressions were grave as they looked at the sky. The Hall of Soul have come. Tian Huozunja knitted his brows and spoke in a deep voice. There are many strong auras outside. This time around, it seems that the Hall of Soul really intend to wash the Falling Star Pavilion in blood as a deterrence to others. A solemnness appeared on Little Fairy Doctor's face as she spoke. Feng Zunja nodded slightly. However, his expression was calm. He was aware that this day would arrive sooner or later. It was just a matter of time. Feng Zunja slowly stepped forward. The seal in his hand changed and the falling star array in the sky rippled. Immediately, the space slowly became distorted and the situation outside clearly appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Hiss! Everyone involuntarily inhaled a breath of cool air when they saw the scene in the outside world. Currently, the area outside of the Falling Star Pavilion had been surrounded by black fog that permeated the sky. Nearly 100 figures stood on the black fog in the sky a short distance in front of them. Dark and dense eyes penetrated through the formation and saw Feng Zunja's group that was hiding within it. Old Ghost Jiaxing. This old ghost has also come. Little Fairy Doctor glanced and found a familiar face amongst the many black-clothed people. Her face turned cold as she said, "There is also the He by Tianzuan whom we had met back then." Feng Zunja shook his head and slowly said. The faces of Little Fairy Doctor's group involuntarily changed when they heard these words of his. Their gaze looked towards where Feng Zunja was watching and did indeed see two old men in black and white clothes standing there. From the appearance of these two, they were surprisingly the He by Tianzuan whom they had met once at the Death Soul Mountain range. 3 elite Tianzuns had actually arrived. This Hall of Soul really seems to think highly of us. Feng Zunja let out a long exhale as he said. Pavilion Chief Feng, what should we do now? The Hall of Soul has launched a big campaign. Moreover, from this momentum, it seems that they are not merely here to demand for someone. An elder from the Falling Star Pavilion spoke with a somewhat terrified expression. What is there to panic about? The Hall of Soul is not some kind association. They are planning to wash the Falling Star Pavilion in blood. Otherwise, why would they directly dispatch 3 elite Tianzuns? Feng Zunja frowned and chided. After which, his eyes looked around the star realm. He watched those thousands of Falling Star Pavilion disciples and spoke in a deep voice. Therefore, there is no other path except to engage in an all-out fight. Everyone here are elders within the Falling Star Pavilion. Today, the Falling Star Pavilion is faced with a calamity that we have never faced before. All of you plan to. Feng Zunja's searing gazes turned towards the many elders of the Falling Star Pavilion and said. Pavilion Chief Feng, the Falling Star Pavilion is our route. The amount of effort we have put in for it is not less than anyone. Regardless of whoever it is that wished to destroy it, we will all fight to our deaths against them. The many elders had solemn expressions as they cried out in unison. Good. I, Feng Xian, really have good eyesight. In that case, let out fight till our deaths. I wish to see just how dominating this Hall of Soul can be. Feng Zunja cried out with a great force, causing the morale of all the Falling Star Pavilion's disciples to be braced. From the perspective of many people here, the Falling Star Pavilion was their route. If it was destroyed by others, what face would they have to roam the Central Plains in the future? Feng Zunja, the old me advise you to obediently hand the people over. This Falling Star Pavilion's great formation cannot protect you. Old Ghost Jiaxing's eyes were dark and dense as he looked at the space below. Although it was merely a sea of trees, he understood that this was only because of the Falling Star Pavilion great formation. The cold cry sounded but no response was given. Old Ghost Jiaxing involuntarily laughed out coldly when he saw this. His gaze turned towards the black-white clothed elders by the side and said, let's attack together and break the formation. The activity from this trip of ours is too big. It is likely that the eyes from quite a number of factions had followed us. Therefore, we must use a bloody method to suppress the Falling Star Pavilion, and use this opportunity to allow the other factions on the Central Plains to be aware that our Hall of Soul is not something that just anyone is qualified to offend. That black-white Tianzuns nodded slightly when they heard this. Their gazes glanced below before raising their hands at the same time. After which, they violently grabbed the space below. After the hands of those 3 were clenched, a frightening spatial strength hurriedly spread over the place. 3 invisible large hands grabbed heavily onto the empty space. A light surged immediately, and an invisible light barrier, containing the glow of the stars, appeared in front of everyone's eyes from nowhere. Break it! Old Ghost Jiaxing coldly cried out. He suddenly clenched his hand violently. That invisible large hand violently smashed onto the invisible light barrier. Bang! A fist landed and numerous ripples spread on the light barrier. A loud rumbling sound resounded over the sky in a thunder-like manner. Bang bang bang. Following closely behind Old Ghost Jiaxing, the frightening wind from the black-white typhoons also swept down from the sky. Immediately, it poured onto the light in a storm-like manner. Under this fierce attack by 3 elite Dozuns, who had reached the 5-star Dozun level, that light had become shaky. All the disciples within the falling star pavilion looked at the repeatedly trembling light barrier from within the star realm. They suddenly held their weapons in their hands with a greater force. The Great Formation is unable to endure the attacks from the 3 of them. Feng Zunja watched the light barrier that was about to be shattered. His expression sunk slightly as he said, "The Hall of Soul has sent 3 Tianzuns over this time around. There are also 7 Dozuns. Quite a number of Dozongs has also come." Feng Zunja's eyes flickered as he spoke in a deep voice. "The 7 Dozuns and the other experts are not considered troublesome to deal with. However, Old Ghost Jiaxing Trio is a great trouble." His voice paused before suddenly clenched his teeth and spoke, "I will block both the black-white Tianzuns. How can you alone be a match for the 2 of them?" Little Fairy Doctor and the rest frowned immediately when they heard this. The other elders of the Falling Star Pavilion also had a drastic change in expressions, as they continuously objected. "There is no need to defeat them. All that we need to do is to delay the time until Yao Chen successfully exit his retreat." Feng Zunja inhaled a deep breath and said. Everyone became quiet when they heard this. It had been half a month since Xiao Yan and Yao Lao had entered the stone tower. However, not even the slightest news was transmitted from it. Just what use this little bit of time was to them. "I will deal with Old Ghost Jiaxing. Leave one of the black-white Tianzuns to the Sky Demon puppet. As for the other Tianzuan, Little Fairy Doctor and Tianhua Zunja will join hands to deal with him." While everyone were quietly and helpless, a calm voice suddenly resounded. Immediately, that skinny figure that caused Little Fairy Doctor's group to calm down also slowly appeared in the mid-air above the mountain. That is, Junior Pavilion Chief Xiao Yang. He has exited from the retreat. The attention of all of the disciples within the Falling Star Pavilion was braced when Xiao Yang appeared. During these years, Xiao Yang could be considered to have really made a name for himself in the Central Plains. Everyone within the Falling Star Pavilion were also aware of his strength. His appearance was just like a great strength, causing the morale of the Falling Star Pavilion to surge. "You have come out. What about Yao Chen?" A joy immediately surfaced on Feng Zunja's face when he saw Xiao Yang appeared. He hurriedly asked the question. "He still needs time." Xiao Yang slowly shook his head. His gaze looked at the repeatedly shaking light barrier. A densely cold-faced Old Ghost Jiaxing was outside of the light barrier. There was a cold glint flashing across his dark black eyes when he did so. This old ghost was really too hateful. Time and time again, this old ghost had come and find trouble. This time around, he will definitely not allow this old ghost to escape. "Leave the last Tianzuan to me. Allow Little Fairy Doctor Jiejie and the rest to block the other elite Dozuns." Qinglin by the side hesitated for a moment before she suddenly spoke softly. Little Fairy Doctor was startled when she heard this. She glanced at Qinglin, smiled warmly and said, "It's fine, old Mr. Yao and I can block him." Xiao Yang's eyes also turned towards Qinglin. The latter smiled at him. She crossed her hands together and said, "Young Master Xiao Yang, you can be rest assured. I can block him." Xiao Yang knitted his brows slightly when he saw Qinglin's insistence. Finally, he nodded slightly. Although Qinglin's strength was only that of a 1-star Dozun, she possessed a mysterious treasure like the triple jade-green snake flower pupils. Moreover, her body also hid the soul of an ancient heaven serpent. Such a ferocious being was something that even Xiao Yang was unusually afraid of. From the looks of her appearance, it was likely that she was not merely putting up a brave front. Little Fairy Doctor was also startled when she saw Xiao Yang actually agreeing with Qinglin. Immediately, she felt helpless. However, her heart was also a little rest assured. She understood that Xiao Yang was not a reckless person. He would not allow Qinglin to fight with a Hall of Soul Tianzuan without reason. Since he did this, it was likely that he had his reasons and his confidence. Xiao Yan waved his hand. 11 puppets appeared in the mid-air. After which, his gaze was lifted and he slowly said, "Open the Great Formation. It is about to be broken." Feng Zunjia also nodded when he heard this. His hand seal changed and the light barrier in the sky trembled before slowly scattering. Following the disappearance of this light barrier, the entire place gradually became dark. The black fog that permeated the sky also appeared in front of everyone's gaze in close proximity. Old Ghost Jiaxing smiled coldly as he watched the slowly scattering light barrier in the sky. Immediately, his gaze penetrated through the space and looked towards the skinny figure standing on the mountain top. His dense voice carried a bone-chilling coldness as it resounded over the entire sky. "Xiao Yang, I have said that we will meet each other again. This time around, the old me will see just who will be able to rescue you."